Hello everyone, this is Eric, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Beyond Hypothermia, a Hong Kong action flick from 1996 that is apparently the first film to be produced by Milky Way Image, Johnny To's production company. Jacqueline Wu plays a brilliantly skilled hitwoman named Fan, who for most of the movie has no name. She also has no family or friends, and for reasons not entirely clear, she has a lower than average body temperature. She was rescued as a child from war-ravaged Cambodia and raised by May, who is the widow of an assassin. May teaches the child the only thing she knows that connects her to the world, and that is contract killing. Fan's victims are as mysterious to her as she is to herself. However, during one of her hits, she makes a sworn enemy of a Korean bodyguard. There is one small ray of hope in her grim life, and that is the beginnings of a love affair with a simple and sweet-natured noodle vendor, played by Lau Ching-wan. Now, with a title like Beyond Hypothermia, you might expect this movie to take place in a very cold city, or during the winter time. That's not the case, but there are some references to cold and ice at points in the film. The plot synopsis already mentioned our protagonist's abnormally low body temperature, but the opening sequence has the female lead breaking an ice block with a sledgehammer in order to get to her sniper rifle that someone has planted for her. And she also has to wait in like a freezer room until her target finally shows up. It's a pretty cool, memorable opening scene, actually. And she even needs to shoot out a light to eliminate glare on the window that's preventing her from clearly seeing her target. So there's kind of an attention to detail in the opening scenes here that are commendable, and it backs up the title of the movie. There are a few other references to the theme of coldness, but do not go into this expecting like a winter-based action flick. It is not that. Now the premise is something we've seen before. It's not a direct ripoff of La Femme Nikita, like Black Cat was, right? But the filmmakers may have been inspired by La Femme Nikita while making this, which is perfectly fine. You have a female assassin who works for a shady contractor, and she falls in love with a normal dude, etc. But at least the story doesn't go beat for beat the same. Characters and relationships in this film are they're simplistic, man. They're real simplistic. The romance is very puppy dog style. There's really no complexity to it. Very surface level, and not really that believable. But they are engaging enough to pull us through. You know, I like the characters and the actors in this. The performances are good. Even though the characters themselves are just, they're not really multidimensional, really. But Jacqueline Wu is a good lead heroine here. She has a chilly demeanor, and her acting is reserved overall, but I like her eye expressions. She gives herself some life, even when she's, you know, stoic. And you may recognize this actress if you've seen the Moment of Romance trilogy or Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. Now, Lau Ching-wan he's basically always awesome. So he gets a pretty good amount of screen time in this. Help keep us engaged. Every time he shows up, the film has a little bit more warmth to it. Very likable love interest. And I even like the actor who played the rival Korean bodyguard, Han Jae-suk. He's got a fairly small filmography. I looked it up with a bunch of supporting roles listed in there. So I don't really remember him specifically standing out in another film that I've seen. I've seen a few of the films that he's been in, but he was always a supporting character in those, so I don't really remember him much. But he's good in Beyond Hypothermia. He brings like an energy that's necessary to contrast the stoic personality of our main protagonist. So the film has a pretty good balance to it. You know, you have a main protagonist who's very kind of reserved, and then you have the noodle shop vendor who's kind of warm and nice and likable, and then you have this Korean bodyguard who's like high energy, wanted to get revenge on the hit woman, you know, after assassinating his boss, basically, in the middle of the film. Now, there's not a ton of action in this movie, but the runtime's only like 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's a short film. So there's a nice handful of assassinations in this, and it's effective to keep things moving. You don't need a ton of action in an 80-minute movie, so the action that's in this is sufficient in terms of quantity. The shootouts are good. They occasionally get violent and bloody. And when characters die in this film, you know they're dead. you know they're dead. The action beats have impact, and they're spaced out. nicely throughout the film, and the big finale's it's kind of a surprise. I remember when I first watched this film, I wasn't expecting it. It's one of the best scenes in the film. So the film starts strong, it finishes strong, and it has enough in the middle to keep you going. Direction and camera work are stylish, but the production values felt kind of weird to me in this movie. Like, first of all, like the English dub is pretty awkward, as English dubs usually are. It does take away from the performances a little bit. I've never been able to find a copy of this movie that was not dubbed in English. So this desperately needs a new Blu-ray release with the original language track and some subtitles. Secondly, like, just the sound design in general and the music are just kind of weak in this film. Like, it's almost like they use just generic stock tracks or something, you know? Stock music tracks. Anytime the music is used, it doesn't really accentuate the scene. It takes away from it. So that's a problem. But, you know, despite some of the script writing problems, you know, the weak script writing in general, and the sound design issues, I enjoy Beyond Hypothermia. There's something about this movie that kind of draws me to it. It's a memorable film for some reason. Maybe like the individual scenes, you know what I mean? That, like, the first time I saw this film way back in the day, I thought it was just kind of pretty good, but I always remembered some scenes in this. There's some scenes in this that you will remember, and there's something commendable about that. And as I've rewatched it over the years, I've liked it more, and I've respected it more. So I do recommend this movie, and it's a movie that I will watch again in the future. The easiest way to find it is on DVD right now. It's the English dub, but you're going to have to live with it if you want to watch the film, I think. But check it out if you want like a gun-based action flick from Hong Kong. And as always, I will see you next time.